Coming up on TekThing, thinking about a dash cam, we face off Anker's ROAV Dashcam C2 and the Z-Edge Z3. CanJam Socal and Audeze's new Mobius gaming headset, Elac Debut 2.0 speakers reviewed, and more, all coming up on TekThing. Thank you, patrons. Without your support via patreon.com/TekThing, we wouldn't be able to make the show for you every week. Join the crew that makes TekThing possible at patreon.com/TekThing. Thank you.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we have something useful in every single show.
And today I will move around a lot. But before I start moving around on camera for no particularly good reason, we should talk about TunnelBear, because a lot of you emailed or tweeted or variously communicated us in different ways.
Yes.
That TunnelBear is now part of McAfee.
Yes.
And therefore evil.
Yes, apparently.
And not to be trusted.
So we were very aware of this. I tweeted about it relatively early on when this happened, before we recorded and posted our episode. So I am aware that McAfee bought TunnelBear. But the thing is, TunnelBear was always in Toronto, Canada. That's where they started. And that's already a part of the Five Eyes. And according to TunnelBear, they even tweeted me, they said their policies and pricing are not changing. Yeah. So I have no reason to not include them as one of my favorites still. I mean,
I'm very curious, right? Because I've been a small company, I've been part of a small company that was bought by a larger company. And of course, people are concerned about that situation. But the thing I kind of love about TunnelBear is they are going to keep doing public security audits.
Exactly. And that is a huge thing that I like about TunnelBear, is the fact that they were the first VPN as of last year to do a third-party audit. And as far as I know, they're still the only one that's done that, unless some news has come out that I have missed.
I will also say that I love that TunnelBear acknowledges we're now part of a US-based company, which we recognize comes with increased privacy pressure and expectations.
It does.
So keep an eye on their website. We keep telling you this. Every single VPN is a trust game between you and the VPN.
Right.
And these folks are at least openly communicating about your concerns and their concerns.
And I really respect that, but if you don't trust a third party like TunnelBear or PIA, you can always build your own VPN, and if you want to have more details on that, I've done it on a Hack 5, so you can totally check that out.
And then you just have to worry about your local ISP tracking everything you do.
Very true. Just get that Cloudflare DNS. There you go.
Oh my goodness.
So ever since I moved to California, which was about 6 years ago, I have been researching dash cams, because as soon as I moved here out of my Midwesterner tractor and cow country, I noticed this amazing amount of cars that had windows broken, or they had screwed up bumpers, or something like that. And I just decided I kind of need a dash cam.
As somebody who went from one urban metropolis to another overcrowded urban metropolis, I will say that the drivers in the Bay Area are some of the worst I have encountered in the continental United States.
I don't know what it is, man. I feel the same way, but maybe that's just my perception, but man.
No, it's pretty awful. So you decided to get a dash cam.
I did, and there were a couple of different things that I wanted to look into. If somebody hit my car, I want to have proof of the faulty party in case there are any questions about this, especially in the Bay Area. And a few of the things that I definitely needed were parking monitoring, and this is where the dash cam will automatically start recording while my car is parked in the event that somebody hits it or breaks a window, etc., etc. Loop recording, where the dash cam will continuously record onto a micro SD card, for example, and then it will overwrite old video files that I don't need anymore.
Otherwise, you need like a 3 terabyte micro SD card, which doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. And emergency video protection. So this is, if my car is in a crash, the dash cam would recognize the sudden movement, and it would save that video file into a protected folder that won't get overwritten with those looped videos. So they'll be separated from each other and protected.
Because if you're broken and unconscious after your car is flipped 72 times, you're probably not going to be able to reach up and go, bink!
Yep.
The little button that saves the video and doesn't loop over it.
So I just started taking a brand new commute to our new studio. So this is a really good timing, because Anker sent us this new ROAV Dashcam C2 to review. So I figured I would compare it to my current one, which is the Z-Edge Z3 Dashcam. So the ROAV Anker Dashcam, which you can find over on Amazon right now, it's currently $57.99. However, their MSRP is $119.99. I've never seen it that expensive.
They only sell on Amazon.
They only sell on Amazon, right? So $57.99 is is what you're going to pay unless that price goes up or goes down. And then the Z Edge is the other one that I have, and this is the one that I've had for a little while now, and this one runs for $129.99 over on Amazon. So $130 is what you can expect to spend on this one. Now they both have those things that I was looking for, and they also both have an LCD display on the back of them. They both have recording to a micro SD card. They charge via micro USB to USB. They both come with a car charger, and they work pretty much exactly the same. There's no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, there's no apps, so they're quite simplistic as far as how you use them, and they both include a fancy little chipset too.
Well, the Ambarella A12 chipset.
Yeah, it's from 2015.
Low power video compression.
Right.
It's common.
It is common.
But they basically means they are, at least in terms of video compression, they are the same camera.
Exactly.
Do they both do in-time watermark and all that fancy kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
they do watermarking. You can turn off the LCD if it's super bright. You can turn off the sounds if the sounds annoy you. So a lot of that stuff happens with all these similar dash cams, no matter which one you choose. So first off, the ROAV has full HD 1080p recording with a Sony Exmor IMX323 lens, f2.0 aperture, which is pretty average, and a wide angle at 145 degrees, which basically means you should be able to get up to 4 lanes of traffic in this wide angle lens. It can also work from -4 Fahrenheit up to 158 degrees Fahrenheit with temperature resistance. So that means if your car gets way too hot in the summertime, while it's sitting out in the sun, it should be fine up to 158 degrees Fahrenheit. And this one also comes with 3M adhesive mounts, suction mounting for your windshield if you're allowed to do that in your state.
That's illegal in California.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. But and it comes with a micro USB charging cable, the car charger, all that good stuff. It does not come with a micro SD card. However, they recommend 32 gig class 10 micro SD cards. I have a 128 gigabyte card in here, and it works just fine, and it records for a very long time. In fact, I have not filled this thing up in the time that I have been using it, which has been about a week now. They both have built-in settings menus to easily navigate. I honestly prefer the ROAV over the Z Edge menu. It's just much easier to navigate through all the settings, and the buttons are much more obvious, so you don't really have to look into it as much. Pressing the red circle on the back of here will manually lock your video into an event of an emergency. So otherwise, you could turn on sensitivity levels in the menu settings as well, and then it will automatically apply that protection if it detects a crash. So either way, you have manual or automatic.
So there's like an accelerator in there, and if it goes this hard, it won't fight. But if it goes this hard,
it's kind of interesting. Loop recording happens in 1, 3, 5, or 10 minutes, depending on what you prefer. And you can also enable or disable the parking monitor and then all the other stuff that I mentioned previously. When unplugged or your car is turned off, it does have a 470 milliamp per hour battery to keep it on for a few minutes. Now it'll run for those few minutes and then it'll turn off. But if something happens while it's in parking monitor, it'll turn back on and activate the camera for all that stuff.
So I leave the car, it cycles down, and then basically it stays on for the valet parking or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it cycles down, and if somebody hits my car or breaks a window,
it'll turn back on and start recording.
Oh, I bet you have things to say about that.
Oh, you know I do.
Oh, I know.
So the Z Edge, this one records up to 2560 by 1140p UHD video with a CMOS sensor at 155 degree viewing angle. So 10 degrees more than the Anker. However, I didn't see a big noticeable difference in the
4
video.
lanes.
So it doesn't really matter if it's 45 or 55, and it does 30 frames per second just like the Anker as well. This one includes the same things, a suction cup, micro USB cable, a car charger, but the difference is this one has a Kingston micro SD card as well at 32 gigs, which comes with it, so you don't have to pay extra to buy one. So the question is, which one of these is best? And if you look at my test video, I did some tests in day and night to give you differences in those footage. During the day, both of them make it very easy to read signs. License plates are very easy to read. The Z Edge has a little bit more saturated HDR colors than the ROAV. The ROAV is a little bit less saturated. However, that doesn't really make a difference whenever you're trying to read things
I mean,
around
you just want to see who swung into you and slammed into your car.
Yeah, that's all you really
show
need to
the,
see.
you know, PhD or the California Highway, whatever there is.
Exactly, yeah.
Pardon me.
The cops. The night footage, on the other hand, the Z Edge, I would say, is relatively better. The ROAV blows out lights and makes it very hard to read. For example, I go off the highway and you see this Payless storage sign up in the corner, and it's completely blown out. You can't read it on the ROAV, but on the Z Edge, you can make out that it says Payless storage. And the same thing happens whenever you're looking at like the license plate lights or the lights on a street, on just like a neighborhood street. So these noticeable differences between the two at night. However, even though the Z Edge looks better at night, the Z Edge records with this high-pitched tone that's always audible, and it's super annoying. I don't know why it does this, but it's very irritating. So when I was looking into these, I also wanted to get an idea of what I could expect if one of them failed. The Z Edge, a lot of consumers that have written reviews about it said that theirs failed after a couple of months. I haven't had mine that long, so I don't know if it'll fail. However, they do have an 18-month warranty. The Anker, on the other hand, I've been familiar with their customer service for a long time. I know that they are really excellent with their customer service. They have a 12-month warranty. So either or, both of them will replace your product for either 18 or 12 months.
But Anker's been around for a long time.
Anker has been around for a long time, and I really trust them as a company. Emergency protective videos, I should mention this. I tried hitting both cameras while they were in the parking monitoring mode. Yeah, I literally whacked it.
Like a cat toy.
Basically, yeah. As well as when we were in my car driving. I was able to test it in either or. So the Z Edge did make a backup of the video file while I was driving, but it did not get the backup file when I was in parking monitoring and I hit it. On the other hand, the Anker got it when I was in parking monitoring, but it didn't record when I was driving and I hit it. So neither of them did the emergency protection both times that I tested it.
And before anyone emails or anyone from either the company decides to contact us, we'd like to understand this is not the most scientific test.
I'm not going to run my car into a wall.
Well, you do it very gently.
I mean, you can do that with your truck.
Like it would show. Okay. There's a. We should totally do that.
No, I don't want to.
Oh my goodness. What about? I mean, so for a dash cam to do cloud backup, you essentially need a wireless phone in the dash cam.
Yeah, basically you would. You would need some kind of external connection for a cloud backup, and because of that, those kind of dash cams are available, but they're a lot more expensive. And I'm not investing that much money in one right now. And yes, I have considered the fact that, you know, since it doesn't back up to the cloud, somebody could totally steal the thing out of my car. It's totally possible.
The first time I saw her dash cam, I'm like, do you leave that in San Francisco? And she was like, yeah. That's all I could think of was how many.
Well, hopefully they see it and they're like, oh, that's recording. I shouldn't touch this car.
That would be hopeful. In terms of like, you know, there's like 10 times as many people and more than that in LA or New York City.
Yeah.
But we have as many car break-ins on the other side of the bay in San Francisco, which has like 1/10 the population. It's crazy.
So I want to know if you have any dash cam recommendations, because neither of these are exactly perfect. However, they are super, super close to being perfect.
What's the thing you want the most that you don't have on these dash cams?
Better night vision, and I want that emergency protection to happen every single time the camera gets hit. So maybe better sensitivity would be the thing that I need.
I'm not going to make a joke about a more sensitive dash cam.
I'm a very sensitive person. I want more sensitivity in my dash cam. So if you have a recommendation, let me know. Ask at TekThing.com, or you can tweet me. I'm at Snubs. I definitely want to get something really good. Luckily, I haven't had a crash in California, but when I do, I just want to make sure that I have that backup, so I have that proof, just in case something happens.
That would be nice.
Yes, it would.
Plus, it'll confirm if it's your mistake. You can give that to the other driver out of the goodness of your heart.
That's very true. Well, I have insurance, so I'd be okay with that.
Aw.
I'm honest.
Being honest is good. You may not have heard, but I'm an audio geek.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. I have audio issues, which is one of the reasons why I love CanJam so much. CanJamGlobal.com is the website. It's incredible, right? New York, Singapore, Shanghai, London, and Denver, Rocky Mountain Audio Fest. And it is an incredible opportunity to hear all of the different headphones that you probably can't find locally, and you probably don't want to buy and return and buy and return and buy and return. So it's put on by the folks at head-fi.org, who are amazing people, and it's a huge audio community around headphones. I can't say it enough. It's an opportunity to hear stuff you'll probably never have a chance to hear, whether it's $50 earbuds from a dozen manufacturers or something like the fantastic Sennheiser Orpheus, which is $50,000. All of these tubes over here, when you raise the lid, the tubes pop up and the volume knobs pop out of the Carrera marble base.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I think at some point they went over the top. We're like, how much fun can we have with this? It's a $50,000 set of headphones and amps and DAC.
Yeah.
I also know at least two people, one of them a hardcore audiophile enthusiast that like reviews headphones for a living, and one of them a relative new young person who hasn't heard that many headphones, both of whom heard songs on this and started to cry.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it's a little crazy.
I want that kind of experience.
I do want that kind of experience. So, you know, it's $50,000, but it's an interesting concept. Mm-hmm. For me, going down to the CanJam in SoCal was a big deal because I wanted to hear Audeze's new Mobius, their immersive cinematic 3D audio headphone. In part because I'm still waiting for the ASIC 10 to ship someday. But this is obviously getting funded. It's $817,000 towards their $50,000 flexible goal.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, way to go, Audeze. They're pretty excited. And it's a pretty wild concept for them. They took a very similar driver to their LCD2. Mm-hmm. So it's a planar magnetic driver, around 100 millimeters. It's a sealed headphone rather than an open headphone. Most of Audeze's headphones are these big, round, circular, open back to give you the huge sound stage. Mm-hmm. But this delivers all of the sort of low-end thump you're used to from Audeze, and I think their early LCD2s were a little strident in the high ends. This tones that back a little bit, as do the current LCD2s. They're super comfortable. They're light. They're plastic. It's the first Bluetooth headphone from Audeze. It incorporates head tracking so that as you turn, it will basically. You know, if this is the band or if this is the thing exploding in front of you, as you turn, it will sound like it's to your right it will sound like it's to your left.
And it works?
It works. Real-time demo worked fantastic. You stand up, you hit the 3D button, that calibrates it, and you go.
That's really cool.
It'll do stereo over the wireless. You need to connect it via USB if you want to get the full surround sound. It treats it, basically you plug it into USB and it gets treated like a 7.1 surround sound card inside your computer.
Okay.
The other thing is they took the Cypher amplifier DAC technology. So they sell these Cypher cables, which are lightning cables that plug into your lightning jack.
And you've shown those off before.
Yeah, when we did the sign review a while back, they're on-ear headphones, which is a fantastic headphone. So it's got the DSP from that, and it's got the amplifier from that. And oddly enough, whether it's USB or the 3.5 millimeter jack or Bluetooth, it all goes through that amplifier and DSP, so you have a very consistent experience across the different inputs. Yeah, I'm very curious to hear it in real life.
Yeah.
You know, as
the
one
final
is.
product.
The final product. I like the fact that they're leveraging some of their high-end technology and making it much more affordable. It's not going to be as like incredibly detailed, and you know the soundstage is probably not going to be as incredible with 2-track audio as you would get off of, say, the LCD2s. But hey, kids, take a look. The LCD2, that's a $1,000 headphone.
Yeah,
and
that's expensive.
That's expensive by most people's standard. Or excuse me, $995 headphone. And for anybody who's going to ask, like, yeah, I'm still waiting for my ASIC 10s, which have 4 drivers for headphones, and they haven't shipped yet.
Those look fancy, but you backed those 2 years ago?
April 2016, almost literally 2 years ago.
Okay.
So, you know, they're doing, ASIC's interesting because they're probably going to have a better shot at creating like Atmos style. It's above me, it's below me, it's on fire over there, but they have to ship. So, you know, the nice thing about the Audeze is they promise to work right now with any games that have, you know, surround sound support, which is to say a whole lot of games. You might be wondering how much they cost.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes, as one does. So the first 1,000 people to buy these got them for like $199.
Wow.
You can get them right now for $269. You notice this $399. As soon as the Indiegogo is over, they're going to go up to $399.
Okay, so that's what their MSRP is going to be.
Yeah.
$399.
If you have a friend, you can get 2 for $498.
I see why they hit their backing so fast. Why they got funded so quickly.
Well, they did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah.
You can get an early bird delivery. Basically, they're going to deliver the early ones, the first round in June, the second round comes in July.
Okay.
And they also have a Creators Edition, which has a bunch of 3D audio plugins from Waves, if you're into that kind of thing and you are a developer.
Fancy.
So I got to say, thumbs up to the Mobius.
Yeah, sounds cool.
You know, what I heard should be a very close to a final edition, but as always, I can't wait to hear the actual shipping edition in June.
As a gamer, I'm very intrigued.
I can't imagine why.
I'm very intrigued.
It's nice. All the controls are over here. Super light. Memory foam was incredibly comfortable.
Yay, memory foam.
Which will work with your glasses without driving you insane.
Yes.
They're claiming 10 hours of battery life off the internal lithium-ion battery. Comfortable, considerably lighter than most of Audeze's planar magnetics, or at least they felt that way to me. And if you have a fancy mic, you can basically use the standard microphone jack. Yeah,
Ooh,
or remove it.
That's awesome.
Just so you know. Oh man, changing direction. Somebody got all Conan the Barbarian on a set of Monoprice's M1060Cs, so I got out my multi-tool because I always have my multi-tool, and I repaired them. And then I got to listen to these closed back over-ear planar magnetics. And I gotta say, I like them a lot better. The first round of planars that Monoprice released were not my favorite, but I think they're really, really stepping up on the performance. They also have a $150 open back planar magnetic coming in the near future.
Cool.
Which sounded pretty good, but I would like to hear it someplace that was less loud. It gets a little loud.
It's loud in those convention halls.
It is. I was also shocked to see a pair of amps designed by Alex Cavalli on the table, especially the $99 Monolith Liquid Spark, which sounds delightful, but of course you're going to need to pair it with some kind of source, whether it's a DAC or the output from your computer. That's going to be available in June. And if you always coveted one of Cavalli's Crimson amplifiers, like the $2,800 Cavalli Liquid Crimson amp, Dr. Cavalli said, he was in the booth there, that the Monolith Liquid Platinum is essentially a balanced liquid crimson.
Wow.
And not hand-assembled by gnomes somewhere in North America, and therefore considerably more affordable. I say that with respect, Dr. Cavalli, because you make some amazing gear that I would have to sell my truck to buy. UltimateEars has some new in-ear monitors. The UE6 has been tuned especially for drummers. What was crazy was they were showing off, we didn't get to listen to it, but we saw it. The UE Live, which is their new flagship with 8 drivers, and they're designed for touring musicians so they can run the feed straight from the board and adjust the levels to each individual driver.
That's cool.
Talk about a specialty project for the touring musician.
That's very specialty.
Yeah, but it was cool. Plus, it's also crazy to see that many drivers stuffed into an in-ear. I was really more excited, though, about UltimateEars' SuperBax cable. They licensed that from Estron, who started out making medical-grade equipment. It's IP67, it's self-cleaning, and like 3,000 cycles of yanking. Like literally, the guy like wrapped his finger around the cable and yanked it off, and he's like, "This is how you take it off," and he's like, "This is how you put it on."
Oh God.
So this is for a lot of the Estron stuff, or the company that they licensed it from. This is like a $100 cable. So it's going to be free as an option with any of UltimateEars' new, any of them, from the cheap ones to the $2,200 ones.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they also have a new Bluetooth cable based on Jaybird's Freedom 5 Bluetooth cable. And I thought it was funny that UltimateEars was like, Jaybird's kind of sorted this.
Yeah.
Let's just put our ends on it so that our people can use it.
That's pretty funny.
FiO's latest X5 is a really nice step up from their sub-$100 X1 portable audio player.
Cool.
And the touchscreen is so much nicer to use.
That's good to hear.
I love the X1 because it's like $89 and it plays good music, as long as you don't have like crazy planar magnetics that need all the power.
Yeah.
But it's like a very like early iPod.
I've heard that same complaint from my brother who owns one as well.
He has some options now.
Good.
While we're thinking about audio, before I go, Mr. Speaker's Voce electrostatic, not nearly as entertaining an experience as that $50,000 Sennheiser. There's no tubes rising out of Carrera marble, but in terms of the actual music, I think they deliver the Orpheus experience for a lot less money. Pretty amazing. They're $3,000. You'll need a dedicated electrostatic energizer or amplifier, but compared to $50,000, that's a bargain.
It's a big difference.
Go, Mr. Speakers. I can't guarantee crying, but if you want to try out a ton of headphones, you'll probably never get to hear anywhere near where you live. CanJam is amazing. Nice folks, too. New York City, Singapore, SoCal, Los Angeles have already run in 2018. But there's going to be London, Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, which is in Denver, and Shanghai coming up before the end of the year.
You going to go to any of the other ones?
I'm going to try to get to Rocky Mountain Audio Fest.
Cool.
Because it's crazy because they have a whole bunch of speaker and amplifier and other manufacturers. So there's a hotel, and there's like 100 rooms in the hotel with different people displaying their audio gear.
Cool.
And there's like 50 or 100 headphone amp and DAC vendors there.
Man, that sounds so great.
If you want to join, or if you want to know if we're going to any of these events, or if you got a question about headphones or audio gear, please email ask@TekThing.com. We love your questions, your tips, and your suggestions of products and ideas to check out. Please keep sending them in, ask@TekThing.com. That's the place. Or you can tweet @TekThing, @Snubs, or @Patrick Norton on the Twitters. A big shout out to our patrons at patreon.com/TekThing. You pay the bills, you make the show possible, and quite frankly, you keep my family fed. I appreciate that. Thank you, patrons. Seriously, patreon.com/TekThing. Come be part of the group. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and Shannon and myself, no matter how you do it. Our buddy Moobix of the most excellent Metasploit Minute, the breakdown on breaking in, and a fine way to learn about Metasploit for anybody out there that's curious about pen testing and security. So Moobix stopped hacking for a few minutes and asked me, what kind of speakers should a normal human like me buy?
Yeah. What would you recommend?
Okay, so for a normal human being, I gotta say the Sonos Play 1, a pair of those.
That's what I have.
In stereo is a really nice step up from your Bluetooth speaker or your crappy computer speakers.
They're beautiful, and they're very easy to use, too.
Yeah, the software interface,
it's excellent.
They changed it recently, so there's sort of learning, like, oh God, they moved everything. But they actually, you can now stream Audible books to it. Tidal, Spotify. It's a fantastic way to engage with your music, whether it's streaming or a huge amount of files you have locally.
They're very cool.
Yeah. If you actually want to upgrade to a speaker and an amplifier or integrated amplifier, Elac's new Debut 2.0 looks like a great way to go. I've been testing the new B6.2. It's a new two-way speaker with a 6.5-inch aramid fiber woofer, a new 1-inch cloth dome tweeter, and a new crossover that runs 2200 hertz down from 3000 hertz, which is a big change, crossover speaking, from the original Debut. And also, you see this right here? The bass port is now in the front, so you can now push it a lot closer to the back wall than the original Elac Debut.
That's cool.
Yeah. Mr. Jones, the designer, also pushed the tweeters out a bit. So the tweeter used to be a bit more recessed, but by pushing it out, it made them a little more less directional, cast a wider soundstage, and they don't sort of, if you get into serious musical listening, they don't want to be towed in towards your face as much as the original ones.
Okay.
The cabinet is definitely sturdier and heftier.
Is it heavy?
I think they used a thicker MDF, and then they put a brace inside of it. And yes, I believe they are a half pound or a pound heavier than the previous model.
Okay.
So by putting them in a sturdier enclosure and by bracing the walls, you have less issues with the enclosure itself radiating. They're basically claiming a very solid low end of 44 hertz. Adding a subwoofer would be killer for movies and nice for music, but I'll be honest with you, in terms of musical listening, the low end on this is outstanding. Elac says the high end runs to 33,500 hertz, which is way beyond what you can actually hear with your human ears. 6 ohm, 87 dB sensitive. You want a healthy amp to power these. I started testing with my New Force DDA 120, which is like 50 watts per channel into 8 ohm, 75 watts into 4 ohm. And I gotta say, quality, high-end detail. More detail, I think a better high-end than the original Debut delivered, but not as good as, say, the $500 a pair Elac Unify UB5s that are my primary listening speakers.
Right. And are those the ones you have on your desk out there?
Those are the ones I have on my desk right now.
That's what I thought.
They get rotated from place to place in my
They
life.
do.
And I will use words like meaty and impressive to describe the low end on these, because they're just really good. I was shocked at how good the bass was on these. I swapped them into my home theater attached to an entry-level Denon AVR, and then I ran a mix of like HBO and iTunes and Amazon Prime Video through them. Big step up from the speakers I was running at the time. Again, most notably on the low end because of this good, solid tuning on this, and that, the drive. It's nice to have a 6.2-inch driver when you've been running like a 3-inch driver.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, and I started them in an awful spot, up against the wall, on the mantelpiece, to the left and right of the projection screen, and they didn't suck. That's actually impressive.
Wow,
So moving them out into the room seemed to tighten the bass, though it did reduce the bass a bit because you didn't have the wall reflecting all the bass.
Yeah.
For $300 a pair, this is an excellent set of speakers.
That's cool.
Not sure I'd upgrade if I already own the original Debut, but these are pretty sweet. And don't forget, you will need an amp or an AVR to drive them.
Right.
I need to try out some of the 80 or so cheap amps on Amazon. Also, there are some amazing vintage amplifiers at garage sales if you get there before the pickers who are going to turn around and sell them online for staggering amounts of money on Etsy.
Very true.
So props to Mr. Jones at Elac for coming up with another winner. And it's interesting because nobody knew the Debut 2.0 was coming. I should probably put it down before I drop it. But nobody knew the Debut 2.0 was coming, and there are a whole bunch of speaker manufacturers who created like $280 to $300 speakers, so they're $20 more than the original Debuts. Okay. There's a whole bunch of speaker manufacturers that decided to chase after this model, and Elac was like, we're just going to upgrade the existing model.
Oh.
before those hit the market.
That's so funny.
And they have floor standards, they have the bookshelf speakers, they have smaller bookshelf speakers, they have surround sound speakers, they've got a subwoofer, and I'll talk about the whole surround sound
So you could go
thing.
Elac crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, most speaker vendors allow you to create an entire 5.1 or 7.1
Right.
or 42.1 or 472,000.42.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want, if you have the AVR to support it. If you're curious about the surround sound system and the differences between that and my existing system, or you're curious, email ask at tekthing.com, because I don't want to bore you with a whole bunch of home theater surround sound stuff if you don't want it.
But if you do another show with Robert.
Oh yeah, AVXL.
Yeah.
AVXL.com is a weekly podcast with Robert Heron, which we basically talk about home theater and audio. Hint, it's the place to go for television information if you're buying a new television.
It definitely is. I highly recommend their show. I love it.
Thank you.
And you can also tweet at TekThing as well, or at Patrick Norton. Don't tweet me, because I am not the speaker guru here, and I won't know what to tell you. I'll just forward that stuff over to Patrick. We got a message from Michael from Solopreneur and Beginner Audiophile Podcast, who texted Patrick and said, I need an OTA antenna for my house. Any suggestions? I'm sure you have some suggestions, don't you, Patrick?
Yeah, well, okay. My first tip is to check your address. Go to antennaweb.org and check your address against, basically see what your TV situation is. So you enter in your zip code, you tell them if your antenna is more than 30 feet high, and you get a map that looks something like this.
Oh, cool.
And each of these lines basically draws to a television antenna.
No way.
Yeah, and
that's neat.
Where we are is really crazy because there's one down near San Jose, and there's one way up north here, up near Geyserville, and there's one in Mill Valley, and of course there's the Sutro Tower up in San Francisco. There's a crazy number of antennas for us.
Okay.
And that's a big deal because if you go to some place like where the family farm used to be in New Boston, Missouri, you might be in a situation,
Whoa.
This is probably more similar for most people, where there's literally one antenna.
Option.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, it's the reason you kind of care about that is if there's only one antenna, you want to point your antenna properly towards it.
And it has to be directional, right?
It's amazing how good the indoor antennas are, like the stuff like the Mohu Leaf and stuff like that, where you just you hang it behind a picture, or it is a picture frame, or you hang it. That said, if you have one antenna to or one transmitter to point it to, it's pretty easy. If you're in a situation like we are, where there's like 5 different antennas, I literally, when I was doing the Olympics, I was like, no. And then Robert reminded me that you want to get it as high as possible, and you want to get it, as outside of your house.
Or something like that, you want to make sure to reach over that.
Yeah, and it's like a wireless router. Inside a closet is worse than outside a closet.
Yep.
The is better than lower.
It's very similar to
in the attic is better
ham
than
radio.
downstairs. Yeah. So, this will let you know what kind of antenna you need, and in this case, it'll help you choose between the following 3 antennas. First up, the Channel Master CM-4001 HD flat antenna ultra thin indoor TV antenna, 35-mile range.
Okay.
Which is $20.
Simple.
Yeah. And if you're in the right part of the world, this is all the antenna you are ever going to need. It's cheap. It will probably do the job. Again, go to antennaweb.org and take a look at what's available.
Cool.
This is a really popular one from Antennas Direct, the Clearstream Eclipse TV antenna, which I think is named the Eclipse because of either this thing over here or this thing over here. But
$40, so a little bit more.
$40, yeah. And they do sort of a 35-mile version, a 50-mile version with an amplifier, and then a crazy 70-mile version. It's pretty much designed to be just strapped to the top of your house. But the basic 35-mile version is what most people are looking at. There's no amplifier. Don't automatically assume an amplifier is a good thing to get.
Right.
Don't get an amplifier if you don't need one, because they can create as many problems as they fix if you have a whole bunch of antennas in your area. So that's $40.
Okay.
If you want to sort of go straight to the better product, that's the way to go. Robert Heron did a review of this recently, and this thing is crazy. The world's smartest indoor TV antenna. The mother of all antennas. Especially good for our weird-ass zip code where there are 5 antenna towers in 5 different directions. This is Channel Master's Smart Tenna Plus.
How much?
And it's $89.
Okay.
So
Still under $100. That's good.
Yeah, and it actually scans much like, it scans you know how you think of the scanning channels? This actually scans and configures. It's got 7 different patterns hidden inside that super flat piece of plastic.
That's cool.
It's like having 7 different locations in the room at the same time. But it's pretty crazy. You push a button and it scans and it figures out with all of its internal antenna options which one works best for which channel, and then programs itself so that it will automatically take care of that for you.
Okay.
You have to program it, but if you do program it, you are going to get a phenomenal television experience, and that is probably as good as anything you're going to get until you climb up onto the roof.
Right, right.
And I try to avoid climbing on top of the roof whenever possible, unless, of course, it's raining and the gutters are backed up. Oh, by the way, shout out to Michael. SolopreneurHour.com is a pretty cool podcast if you are an entrepreneur and looking for motivation.
And we also wanted to give a quick shout out to Hack5 for the studio space. So thank you, Hack5. You can grab some Hack5 gear and you can check out the security and privacy podcast that I do with Darren Kitchen over on hak5.org, which looks like this. And you can also find links to all my other shows, including ThreatWire and TekThing and HackTip.
Yay.
And Mubix's Metasploit Minute, which he is currently doing a series on. So big thank you to Hack5 for that. And remember, once in a while, put down your phone, step away from the screen, and close your laptop and do something analog, like take a ride on a San Francisco cable car. This was so cool. I recently rode one with my mom, and I didn't realize there was so much history behind these and that they're so rare. This is one of the only places where you can ride a cable car. There's only 3 lines in San Francisco, and that's it. So they do cost a little bit.
I think they're the only
expensive
cable cars still running in the world.
I think they are. I think they are the legitimate only ones that you can actually ride in a city, like as a commuter.
Do you know who used to drive cable cars?
Who?
Maya Angelou.
What?
The poet.
That is so cool.
I kid you not.
Yeah, the history on these is just amazing. So if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, definitely hit up some of the cable cars. They do cost more than like taking a BART train or taking the Muni bus, but it's worth a ride, and it's very cool to try them out.
It's an amazing tourist attraction, and the ones that are running primarily go from a tourist attraction to another tourist attraction.
Yes, they do. But there are a couple. There's one line in San Francisco that you can take that does not go from on one tourist attraction to another. It goes from one tourist attraction to like downtown. So you could take that one so you don't have to stand in a really long line.
Well, there's shopping downtown.
Well,
you're talking about the one that ends on Market Street?
No, I'm talking about a different one, not the one that's on right next to the mall.
That one gets slammed.
Yeah, that one gets very slammed.
It's super fun. It's really ridiculous, and children love it.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Little dangerous if you're standing on the outside like I did, but totally worth it. So cool. Let us know if you have any analog pics. We would love to share them on the show and give you a shout out on a future episode. You can email those to ask@tekthing.com, and make sure to include a photo or a picture of whatever your analog pic is, or a video as well. We love to show those too. I think that's it.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We'll see you next time on TekThing. What'd your mom think?
My mom loved it. She was a little iffy about standing on it, so I was like, that's fine, I'll stand on the outside and you can sit right next to me. So in case anything happened, I could just like rush her and hug her very closely in case anything like came too close to the car.
It's really odd to be on them during an actual commuting hour. Because there's a lot of cars, and of course there's like people, I mean, I don't know where you guys live, but in most of the places I've lived, people when they commute are really surly, and it's hysterical to be on a cable car. There's a very small number of people that actually commute on the cable cars where they're like, I am going to the office and I hate the universe. And there's like a 12-year-old next to him, we're like, are we going to see the ship now, or are we going to go to the Exploratorium?
Because, commuters.
And the angry commuter's like, your joy is offensive to me, small child.
The first time I rode a cable car was commuting, and I was going to a meeting in San Francisco, and that was the fastest route. And I was like, do you take Clipper? And at the time they didn't take Clipper, so he was like, no, and it's $6. And I was like, I don't carry cash. I thought you took Clipper. And he was just like, you're local? And I was like, yeah, I just moved here. And he was like, don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, thank you. So luckily I got a free ride the first time I went on one of the cable cars.